Happy holidays, everyone, and welcome back to Come Out and Play, Chandler. I'm Lisa Aquafreda, and we're so excited because this year celebrates the 60th anniversary of Chandler's very own tumbleweed tree. This unique Chandler tradition began 60 years ago when Chandler resident Earl Barnum had the idea of making a tree out of tumbleweeds. In fact, Chandler is the only city in the southwestern United States that has such a tree. This tree attracts people from all over the valley, the nation, and even the world. We were able to meet up with some of Earl's family members and talk a little bit about Earl and the legacy he left behind.
We moved to Chandler in 1948. We came to Chandler in mid-May. The day we drove to Chandler, the cowboys were in town and the Indians were in town with their horse and buggies, and there was a dust storm that came through Chandler, and the tumbleweeds were rolling down this middle of Chandler, and I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. My dad was the general merchandise manager for O.S. Stapley Hardware Company. He did a lot of original ideas on how to merchandise hardware.
Later transferred then to Arizona Hardware Company, where he was their display manager, and he would go all throughout the valley, and then when they transferred him to California, he would go all through the stores there to set up all of the displays. So he has always been very artistic. Earl was very interested in Chandler. It was a new experience for him, a totally different climate change. And so he wanted to do things that were native to Arizona.
Back in Indiana, Dad used to do the same type of thing with evergreens. And when we came to Arizona, he saw the tumbleweeds and thought, boy, we maybe could do something with that as a Christmas tree.
At that time, there were tumbleweeds still blowing through Chandler, and he thought, this is a great way to use our desert setting and celebrate Christmas. So that's the way that his idea came around.
My dad was always kind of artsy. He was always doing something different. And he did the Christmas tree in a small Christmas tree in our front yard. And one of the city employees drove by and saw it and thought it might be something they could use in the city.
Chandler needed some new Christmas decorations, and Chandler was surrounded by a lot of farms. So he directed again in using the culture of Chandler to make these wreaths. And so they did them first, I think, at his house, and then moved them to one of the clubs in the city that was helping with it. They made these wreaths out of kind of the wicker look from the brush around on the desert. And he would use the cotton from the cotton fields and decorate them. And that was a community affair when they were making new decorations for Chandler. And they lasted for many, many years.
He was involved in the building of the tree. He'd be down there every day while they were building and instructing and telling them how to do it.
It started out with the clubs helping, and then the city got involved because it was drawing a lot of attention, and so the city started working on it. And he was very bossy. He would go down and tell the city as they were constructing it, it needs to be higher, you've got it too fat. He knew to how many lights he wanted on it. He would park his Buick right in front of where they were constructing the tree to advise them. And he would walk around with his walker and see that they were doing it just right and that they had gathered the right tumbleweeds. He was very particular about the tumbleweeds. And I had to pay our children to sometimes go out and gather some because the ones he had weren't perfect enough. So he supervised that clear to the end.
They did move to California for a few years, but he would come back Christmas time and spend time with us and do the same thing, go down and help them build the tree. He made a point to go to every tree lighting. One year they made him the marshal of the parade, and that was the highlight of his different tree lightings. He got to ride and my son and myself rode with him. And I don't think there was a time that he ever missed when they were living here that he missed the tree lighting. My dad used to carry pictures of the tree with him in his pocket, and everywhere we go, he would tell the people, "Do you know about the Chandler Christmas tree?"
People he didn't even know on the street, he would stop, and he just kept a supply of the pictures he had taken, and then later Chandler made them into postcards. And so he carried these postcards around in his shirt pocket.
There was a lot of articles written in the newspapers of the tree, and he also had a lot of pictures taken. He was a picture taker.
He would go through every paper to make sure that he got every article, and he kept them in a scrapbook.
We had that scrapbook and we donated it to the Chandler Museum. My dad was always pretty artsy. Before the tree was invented, he would get a oval-shaped piece of styrofoam, and he'd go to the cotton fields and pick cotton balls. It was still in the balls. He would get a small tumbleweed and a red candle, and he would take the cups, the creamer cups from the restaurants, and use them as the balls. And he'd put all this together on that styrofoam, and then he would paint it. And while the paint was still white, he would glitter it. It drove my mother crazy because he used so much glitter. He had all different kinds of glitter, all different colors in bottles. In fact, we still have some of those bottles of glitter. He would use it on everything. He would spray paint something and then sprinkle glitter on it.
He always had some kind of craft going in his house, something he was experimenting with.
He was never a person that sat. He was always out in the yard. His yard was beautiful, full of flowers. He was very, very an active man, and he did a lot of artsy things. He actually took art lessons and did oil paintings. My dad lived to be 96 years old, and the tumbleweed tree was his fame of glory, and he loved the fact that he was the person that invented it.
Earl was so proud of the Christmas tree, and he wanted to be sure that he was remembered for that. He had always had a passion for beauty. He could find it even in a tumbleweed, as we have learned in the tumbleweed tree. So he's always, whether it was with flowers, whether it was with the tumbleweeds, whether it was with the cotton bolls, he always found a way to make things beautiful.
We'll meet more of the Barnum family right after this.
Over 20,000 people every year come to see my great-grandpa's tumbleweed tree.
Did you know it takes staff 3 weeks to gather and assemble tumbleweeds for the Christmas tree?
Did you know that the Tumbleweed Christmas tree has 1,200 LED lights and they look something like this?
Did you know that Parks crews will add nearly 1,000 tumbleweeds to the Christmas tree?
Did you know the tumbleweed tree is covered in 65 pounds of glitter?
Did you know the tumbleweed tree is covered in 50 gallons of white paint?
The tumbleweed tree is 35 feet high.
Did you know the tumbleweed tree is covered in 40 gallons of fire retardant?
Four generations of Barnums still reside in Chandler, and we were able to talk with some of Earl's grandchildren about what it was like growing up as the grandchild of the father of the tumbleweed tree. And here's what they had to say.
I don't feel like a celebrity in Chandler, but I do have a lot of heritage here in this city because both sets of my parents grew up here and their parents had businesses and worked here.
There's not too many of the established communities and businesses that we don't know the owners or we don't have some type of involvement in. Just tremendous amount of friends and family that reside here in Chandler.
There aren't very many places that I go in Chandler where I don't know how that started or can tell you the history of the store that was there. So that's kind of fun to know. It sometimes impresses my friends, but most of the time it doesn't.
My daughter is 12, and probably 3 or 4 years ago, her class had to do a project on the tumbleweed tree. And it was really great because she, at the end of her project, and they presented, she said, "That's my great-grandpa," and he was the one that created the tree. And then her whole class's attitude was like, "Oh, the tree is just part of who we are. It's not a status thing. It's not anything more than part of us." And that is an amazing thing that our grandpa gave us. And here we are to get to light it and share it and gift it to the whole community every year.
As a child, I can remember times where my father and Grandpa Barnum, we would actually go and see the construction of the Christmas tree. Grandpa Barnum would know how tall it was, how many tumbleweeds were involved, how much paint, how much glitter, how many lights. He would have all the specs on the tree and would kind of supervise the workers that would put the tree up and kind of direct the construction. And he had his own ideas of how it should look and how it would be presented.
I still see him on this rickety step ladder, and it was even before now how it's got this nice concrete little fenced in area downtown. It was before any of that, and he would stand on this step ladder and he would place the tumbleweeds up himself. And you know, when I was born, my grandpa was already old, so at 10, 11 years old, he was really old. And so he would stand there and place these tumbleweeds just right, and he'd get down and he'd look and he'd say, "Oh no," and he'd get it and he'd put them just right. And he was out there himself placing these tumbleweeds just right. And when we visit every year, I have these images in my head of him and how he wanted it to be just right for everybody and every visitor that came to our community, to make it be this beautiful thing and this beautiful tradition. And that is really cool.
Every year at Christmas time, our children want to do something together, so we pack in the car. At least when they were growing up, we would pack in the car and we would drive downtown and show them the Christmas tree, the tumbleweed Christmas tree that great Grandpa Barnum started just with a thought out of his head, and we would tell them some of the stories that he told us, seeing all the tumbleweeds going across the roads. Couldn't I make something out of those? And coming up with the idea of the Christmas tree and how it's grown through the years.
We would often go down to the tree as it was being built, explain all the glitter, all the construction, the thoughts, and how it was originated from Grandpa Barnum by visually taking a look at the tree and driving by, and just memories of Grandpa Barnum.
The children grew up going to see it every year, and then now they take their children to see it, and those stories just continue through the family.
We do every year go to see the Christmas tree, whether it's when it's being built or after it's lit, and drive by.
Every year, we take our family to the Parade of Lights and to the Christmas tree. It's one of the things we look forward to in our holiday traditions. Every year, we make cookies, we make gingerbread houses that fail, we visit the Christmas tree and do the Parade of Lights. That's just what my kids can expect.
And we have been participants of the Parade of Lights in years of the past. I actually drove in that when I didn't even have a license.
We are simple community goers, and we do what everybody else does. We line up on the streets, we watch the parade, we watch the lighting, and we adore it from the side like everybody else does. We go down every year, take pictures with our kids, and see the people reading the plaques in the front and listen to all their comments, and it's great because 99% of the time I don't say anything to people like, hey, that's my grandpa. Sometimes we do, but other times it's just great to just be a bystander and listen to people appreciate the tree.
There was a time where we were asked when Grandpa Barnum had passed. My father was out of town, so my son, as a young man, and I were the honorary tree lighting electives to go and flip the switch at the parade and the tree lighting, and it was fun to be a part of that.
We'll be back to let you know what to expect for the 60th Tumbleweed Tree Lighting celebration right after this.
'Twas the night before the lighting of the Chandler tumbleweed tree. Not a creature was stirring, none that we could see. The tumbleweed were hung by the park staff with care, in hope that the community soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while vision of the tumbleweed dancing in their heads. Dreaming of decorations strung all throughout downtown, with the bright star atop of the tree as its crown. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, the kids sprang out of their beds to see what's the matter. Away to the window they flew like a flash to open the curtains, only to see a big clash. When what to their wandering eyes should appear but the North Pole on wheels atop the hood of plastic reindeer, with flakes of snow in the air and lights covering the lawn, the neighbor prepared for the parade of lights until dawn. He yells, "I'll see you tomorrow for Chandler's holiday party." It was started by Earl. Oh, he was such a smarty. We'll gather together under the moon lighting to honor the 60th Chandler Tumbleweed Tree Lighting. From our family to yours, both near and far, keep the tradition alive and light up our star. Peace, love, goodwill, and hope burning bright. Happy holidays to all, and to all a good night.
The City of Chandler has special features surrounding the 60th Annual Tumbleweed Tree Lighting celebration. For those planning on joining us at the tree lighting ceremony this year, you'll be able to enjoy performances by a quintet from the Chandler Symphony, which will perform holiday favorites. In addition, Mayor J. Tip Shraney will be joined by the members of the Barnum family to share the history of the tree. Also, special decorations have been developed that will be on display during the celebration. Since July, the City of Chandler has been collecting photo submissions from the community of their favorite tree lighting memories. And these memories are going to be on display for the public viewing the night of the lighting. Now, many have also been included in special promotions leading up to this year's big event. And a huge congratulations to Edmundo Mendez Jr. Now, his submission was selected as the cover photo for the winter edition of Break Time magazine. Congratulations. There's just so many things to look forward to this holiday season, and we really hope that you'll be a part of this year's 60th Tumbleweed Tree Celebration and the Parade of Lights. We really want to thank the Barnum family for sharing your stories and memories with us. And now we have a special treat. We are going to show you an interview with Earl Barnum from Come Out and Play Chandler back in 1994. And until next time, come discover, imagine, and grow with us right here in Chandler, and happy holidays.
And here with me today is Earl Barnum, the creator of the Tumbleweed Christmas tree. Hi Earl, welcome.
Welcome. Howdy, glad to know you.
Thank you.
Glad to know you.
Earl, you've always been fondly referred to as the daddy of the Tumbleweed Christmas tree. How did the makings of the Tumbleweed tree come about?
Yeah. Well, in Indiana, we built a frame like that and covered it with pine boughs. And when I come here, I was working with Wayne Stapler one day, and I said to Wayne, I said, I'd like to make a tumbleweed tree here. He said, let's do it. And the tree has been built ever since.
And how different is the tree today from the first tree that you made?
Well, in those days it was kind of rough. It was kind of tumbly. And we didn't put all the beauty in the tree that's in it now. It didn't look too finished, but we were glad to build it. We built the frame and then covered the frame with the tumbleweed, and that's what was the starting of the tree. We decorated it and put all the beauty that we could into it.
Now, did you also make other things with tumbleweeds, Earl?
No, we made the tree, but we made Christmas wreaths out of cotton burrs. The cotton burrs, we built them into small Christmas wreaths.
Oh.
And we sprayed them, and we put red glitter on them, and they were gorgeous. If I remember now, we made 32 of them.
Wow.
And hung them around the town.
The City of Chandler always does a great, outstanding festival along with the tree lighting ceremony.
Yeah.
Were there other types of activities that you did with the original tumbleweed tree?
Well, we had a program, a Christmas program, that the children recited poems, and we just had a good Christmas program, well-rounded.
Now, did the tree always stand here?
Yeah.
37 years ago, it stood here and has continued to...
This is the area, yeah.
It's a beautiful tree, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And when that's lit at night, it's gorgeous.